Hi guys, we are Mike and Aga, and this is an easy step-by-step tutorial on how to flip a dresser. So this is the dresser that we bought in a thrift store for 25 bucks. I'm gonna link the video in the corner so you can check it out. And today, instead of just restoring it on camera, we wanted to make a detailed guide for anyone that's trying to start flipping furniture but is not sure how to start. So we're gonna break down all the equipment that we use, and we are also gonna show cheaper alternatives. The pricing of furniture depends where you live as well. We are in Tampa Bay area, so the prices that we sell the furniture here are not necessarily going to reflect your pricing if you're going to be in a different area, but the whole process is going to be exactly the same. So let's get to it. Also, I wanted to mention that's not what we wanted to do today, so let's go. For us, the step one is always a quick walk around. We check for any damages and anything that needs to be fixed. This is also where we plan how we are going to finish the whole piece. So starting with the front, just check if all the drawers are aligned, if they open and close freely. Check the top for gouges and damages and scratches. Kind of make a mental note. Or if you want, you can just write it down on a piece of paper. That's gonna be easier for you. Whatever works. If it works, it works. Check the backing, because some people are really picky and sometimes you have a hole, like somebody used it as a TV stand and there's a hole. Some people are not gonna buy it because of it. Open the drawers, make sure they slide well. Check for maker's mark. They're always gonna be either left or right side of the drawers. If there's none, that means it's just a generic like rooms to go piece or nothing special. But higher end pieces like Broyhill, Dixie and others, they're gonna have maker's mark. Check for any damaged or missing hardware. This one luckily has all of them and they look pretty good, so we are going to reuse those. So yeah, this piece has tiny bit of damage.
Next step is cleaning. We are using a degreaser. We clean the outside and the insides as well. And then for the drawers inside, we use this Murphy wood cleaner that smells really nice. You mix it with water. I have it ready in my spray bottle, and just spray it inside, wipe it, and it's all good. But you would want to wait with cleaning the insides of the drawers until you're done with sanding. So clean with the degreaser first, and then when you're done with sanding, clean the drawers inside.
Now that everything is clean, you can move to step 3, which is filling up scratches and holes and gouges. We are using plastic wood by DAP. It's really cheap. I believe this tub, it's 32 ounces. It was I want to say 15 bucks at Home Depot. You can buy smaller ones, you can buy them in little tubs as well. It's really good. If it dries out, you can just add a couple of drops of water, mix it up, and it's good to go again. And you're obviously gonna need a putty knife, or in this case we use plastic scrapers. For bigger damages, if you feel that the plastic wood is not going to work because it is very brittle, you can use Bondo. It's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be really hard to sand as well, but it's gonna be much stronger than the plastic wood. In this case, we are not going to use this one. We are just going to use plastic wood. The dresser should be dry now after cleaning, so we can carry on with the filler. With the filler, always put more than you think is necessary. That's because you're gonna have to sand it down later, and that's gonna give you some wiggle room. Step 4 is going to be removing the hardware. It's usually just 2 screws on the back. We use Milwaukee drill. You can use anything. This is literally a set of screwdrivers from Dollar Tree and it works great. Just keep everything together with the screws in a container. Make sure you don't lose them, because sometimes the threads on screws are different. One more reason why you should always remove hardware while filling the holes with plastic wood is the old one had this ring, and if you were to replace it with a new hardware, this is going to be visible. So you can go ahead and just quickly patch it up again. We are not replacing the hardware, I'm just letting you know. Also, you will always find moldings and scratches as you go, so just go ahead and fill them in. It dries in pretty much less than 20 minutes, half an hour maybe, depending on the temperature and humidity. But it's definitely better to take your time now, because later when you paint it, everything might be visible. Now that the filler is dry, we can move on to step 5, which is going to be sanding. If you are starting up and you just trying to work out if that's something you want to do, you can just go to Dollar Tree, and for $1.25 you buy something called Project Pack, I think it's called. It's basically 40 pieces of sandpaper, the different grits. What you are going to be interested in is the 150 grit. Now, they're not really accurate, so this one is going to be more like 220, which is the one that we use. So are these good? No. Are they gonna get the job done? Yes. They're really cheap. One pack is probably gonna be enough to do 3 to 4 dresses by hand. You can also grab sanding sponge. They do have different grits on different sides, and you can use this one to basically hold your paper as you sand. You can literally just use your own hand or grab a piece of wood, whatever is comfortable for you. We like to use this one sometimes because when you have curved edges, well, this one is not that curved, but basically when you press it, it's gonna sand it down to a shape. We use electric sanders just because we do a lot of furniture and it's easy for us, but these are literally hyper tough from Walmart. They're really cheap. This one was 16 bucks, this one was, I believe, 26, and this one was 40. The belt sander we don't use that often because it's really powerful, but those two are just great workhorses. So since today we're only prepping for just regular painting, we're not doing any staining, all you have to do is to use 220, that's perfectly fine, or the 150 from Dollar Tree. And the way we do it, we always start with the pieces that we filled up with plastic wood. Just give them a small sand. You can see the excess disappeared. There's a tiny bit inside, that's the one that fills the hole. You can feel it in your finger, it's perfectly fine now. Apart from this, you will have to sand everything, every single surface that you're going to paint with 220 again. That is because you are going to create small scratches, as you can see, and those scratches are going to help your paint and your primer to stick into the dresser. When it comes to sanding, one more important thing, you should always wear a mask and some goggles. You don't want to breathe this stuff in. And also some of the old furniture, they might have paint that is lead based, so if you get a really old piece, I would suggest grab a testing kit from Walmart or Amazon and give it a test before you sand it down. Everything is sanded down now. Again, you do not have to sand it down a lot. All you have to do is get rid of the excess filler and then rough it up so the paint and the primer has something to stick to. Next step is going to be wiping everything down. We use damp cloth, not wet, just damp, and you have to be careful, at least with this filler that we use, the plastic wood, it dissolves with water, so whatever you have filler, just give it a small wipe and then you can just wipe everything else. If you want, you can use air compressor or dry cloth. The damp one is just something that we are used to using. Step 6, I think, we are going to clean the drawers inside with the Murphy that we previously mentioned, and we're going to mask them off. Now if you're going to be painting with brush, this step you can skip, but since we are using a paint gun, we don't want to create any overspray, so we're going to be masking them. We basically use drop cloth from Dollar Tree or Dollar General. It's $1 or $1.25, and then from the same store, just masking tape. So as you can see, the inside is completely masked off, so there's gonna be no overspray. If you're painting with brush, you don't have to do it. So let's carry on with the rest of the drawers. Before we move into the final steps, I'm going to show you some stuff that we use and a few alternatives. So we always start with a coat of primer. Kills 2 is the one we use most of the time. 2 gallons for, I believe it's $26 at Home Depot. Now sometimes what's gonna happen is that your wood is going to bleed. So if that happens, we use Kills 3 premium primer. It's a bit more expensive, but it's much better at covering the stains. Basically, if you want to paint any piece in a light color and you have a bleed through, you have to do it, because it's gonna go through the paint, it's gonna go through your clear coat. That's the way to go. Next up is going to be your paint. In here you're basically only limited by your imagination. What we are using most of the time is Bear's premium line interior paint. This one is flat. We used to use satin enamel paint as well. You can get cabinet paints, or you can just buy dedicated paints. This one is definitely the most cost effective, because the gallon of this paint costs I believe $24. Satin one is a bit more expensive. If you want, you can obviously go gloss or semi-gloss, which is like the satin look. Now for the clear coat, we used to use only Varatain. This one is semi-gloss, but we used to use satin one. It's really good, and it was available at our Home Depot. At the moment they don't have it in stock anymore. We tried Minwax polyacrylic. It's okay, but it's not the best. And the clear coat we're using the most at this moment is this one. They're all really expensive, unfortunately. A gallon of clear coat is going to run you about $50 to $60, but that's just something that we have to do. Now the clear coat, we always strain it with a mesh strainer. Same should be done with the paint, but since paint is really thick, you're probably going to need 60 to 80 mesh strainers. This is just to avoid any bubbles and impurities in the paint. Every single product that we use here is water-based. It's just easier for us to clean all the equipment with water. Plus there's no unnecessary chemicals that we have to use and pollute, so that's a plus. So the process of painting goes like this. We start with primer. We give it 1 hour to dry, at least 1 hour. That depends on the temperature outside and the humidity. After the 1 hour has passed, we sand everything down lightly with, and this one is 500 grit paper. You can use 600, 800 or even 1000 if you want. And then after everything is sanded, we just hit it with a cloth to get rid of all the dust, and we can move on to the next step, which is paint. We always go with 2 coats of paint, and there's 2 hour drying time in between the coats. And again, between first and second coat, you can hit it with paper. It's not necessary, it's really optional, but it gives it better finish, especially if you are going to use paint brushes. One more thing about the hardware. This one we are not going to paint because it looks really good. It's in good condition, but you definitely can paint them. All you have to do is give them a clean with a degreaser. You can rough them down with some sanding paper. And then again, there's so many colors that you can choose from, so you're only limited by your own imagination. Most of the time we use metallic gold and semi-gloss black. They are both paints and primer. We have a copper one as well. This one is only paint, there's no primer. So the best practice would be to spray them with primer first and then finish off with spray. And again, you want at least 2 coats on all of the sides to make sure it's going to be durable. To apply primer, paint and clear coat, we are using electric spray guns. These are pretty much the cheapest one that we found on Amazon with big paint reservoirs. They are both between $40 and $50. Most of the time they're on a sale. They're really good. They work really well. They're really cost effective. This one has painted probably around 50 dresses at this point, and this one's been going strong for a couple of months. Everything gets cleaned up with water, since like I said, everything is water-based. Next, extremely important stuff, masks. Not so important if you are using paintbrushes, but with spray guns you should definitely invest in a mask. You just don't want to breathe that stuff in. Now if you just want to try out if you like restoring, you should start with brush. Try and get a good quality one, but if you don't really want to spend a lot of money, you definitely can get one from Dollar Tree. Just bear in mind they're gonna leave here. The finish is not gonna be so great. You're gonna see brush strokes. That's why in between layers you hit it off with sanding paper, and that's gonna smooth it out at least a little bit. Let's move on to the next step so you can see everything in action. We are going to start off with a primer. This time we are using Kills 2. Before we start painting, we just give it one more final wipe just to make sure all the dust is off. If you are using a flat brush, you should do a long strokes, go in one direction. We are using spray gun, and it's a good idea to always test the gun before you start spraying. So the gun is now primed and we can carry on. So Aga is going to start with one line of spray, and then each consecutive one is going to overlap the previous one. And on the tops, to avoid banding, Aga always goes all the way from left to right and then follows it with a coat going front to back. Luckily, this dresser does not bleed a lot. There is a small spot here, I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm going to put a video. Bleed through looks like somewhere in the corner, so you can out. If that happens, you can literally just take a brush and we apply Kills Free primer. This one is going to block it completely, so nothing is going to come through your next layers. You can also just spray everything with Kills Free to begin with. It's just more expensive and it's not always necessary. We give the primer 1 hour to dry, and now we're going to use 500 grit paper and sand everything lightly just to smooth the finish out. Now that everything is sanded, you're going to have to wipe everything down again. We are ready to apply paint. We're going to do 2 coats. And we're going to sand everything and wipe down again in between first and second coat. The process of painting is exactly the same. I don't know if you can see, but there's a blob of paint, and basically this is why you should use paint strainer to get rid of all the lumps from your paint. 2 hours have passed since we applied the second coat of paint, so we are ready to apply clear coat. Again, we're using this polyurethane. The basic idea is the same as with paint and primer. If you are using spray gun to apply your clear coat, just keep in mind that clear coat is way more watery than paint and primer. So you're going to have to either stand further back and create a mist, or regulate your spray gun like so. This is basically adjusting how much paint is going to be passed through the nozzle. Ideally you should go for 2 coats. Clear coat is now completely dry. All we have left to do is taking the masking off the drawers, putting the hardware back in, and that's it. We are going to leave it in a garage overnight to make sure the clear coat cures. I believe this one cures fully in 24 hours, but overnight should be just fine. We messed up and forgot that the drawers go all the way in, and we didn't paint the insides of the supports, but it's not a big issue. As you can see, Aga is just painting it now. She's gonna do 2 coats and then a coat of clear coat. As you can see, the drawers are perfectly clean inside, no overspray at all. All we have left is reapplying the hardware. The hardware is reinstalled. We are going to leave the dresser in a garage to cure overnight. We leave all the drawers slightly open to allow the paint to breathe and to make sure nothing sticks to each other, as the clear coat might still be a tiny bit sticky. We hope this video was helpful for at least some of you. We are not by any means professionals, we just wanted to share some knowledge that we gained since we started flipping furniture. We hope this video made sense. Hopefully this will help somebody to get into flipping and makeovers. This is a really rewarding side hustle and a great way to update your own furniture.
You can make extra money while keeping furniture off the landfill and creating something one of a kind. The value of this dresser is between 180 to 250, at least where we live. We paid for it $25 at the thrift store and the cost of materials was about $15. It took us around 3 hours to finish the whole thing. It was pretty easy, just paint. We can expect from $140 to $210 profit once it sells. If you are a beginner, the initial cost will be more, as you'll have to purchase all the equipment and whatever you need. Once you sell your first piece of furniture, it will pretty much cover all the cost, unless you had some stuff on hand already, so that's even better.
Let us know in the comments below if you have any questions and if this video was helpful for you. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.